Next up, we have a very interesting panelist whom we are impatiently looking forward to meet after a long wait. And I'm talking about Kelvin Davis. Kelvin Davis is the founder and creator of Notoriously Dapper, a body positive menswear blog showcasing outfits to inspire men of all sizes to find confidence in their appearance. Blogging with this purpose has led him to model for Target, Gap, Vineyard Vines, Chubby Shots, Jack Black Skincare, and more. Kelvin has been featured in BuzzFeed, Huffington Post, The New York Times, and more for his contribution to male body positivity. He continues to break modeling standards and push the fashion industry to be more inclusive of all body types and races. Kelvin lives this message in his daily life, inspiring men and women worldwide to simply love themselves by finding and embracing the beauty within. Now, as an author, he's spreading that positivity through his NAACP Image Award nominated book, Notoriously Dapper: How to Be a Modern Gentleman with Manners, Styles, and Body Confidence. Kelvin's topic will be about body positivity in the fashion industry, race relation within the body positivity community, and he will also speak about what his platform does in the part of activism towards body positivity and race relation inside of it. The format he will present his topic will be in a Q&A format where he talks about the topics and leaves it open to discussion for anyone that wants to engage with him about his topic. He feels as though doing this will open up a dialogue of different perspectives and help other people understand the plate that people of different body types and people of color have to go through, not only in the fashion industry, but in society as a whole. So without further ado, Kelvin, the stage is yours.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Can you all hear me? Yeah, okay, cool. Awesome. So, my name is Kelvin Davis, and I am the founder and creative of Notoriously Dapper, which is a body positive menswear blog that I started after a bad shopping experience that I had in about 2012. I was shopping for new clothing as a new art teacher, and I was told by a sales associate that I was too fat to shop there. Now, I've dealt with a lot of different things in my life as far as racism. I've been discriminated against because of the way that I look, but I've never been discriminated against because of my weight or anything of that sort. So, wait, can you all still see me? Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Um, so with that being said, it drove me to create a platform that really challenged the societal standards of male beauty. Here in America, male beauty is all about fair skin, abs, tall, somewhat fit, all of that, So me being a short, dark skinned, guy from the South, me not feeling represented in the media and in fashion really had a detrimental cause on my upbringing and on my confidence level. Although I had parents that were very positive and always would encourage me to love who I was, the society and the media told me opposite. And every time I went shopping, you would always see ads of fair skinned people, people that have this and have that, and they will always have things that I necessarily would never have because I could never be white, right? I could never be fair skinned, I could never have any of these things. So to objectify somebody and tell them that this is the only standard of beauty really causes some sort of body trauma to an individual, especially when they get older. So me creating that platform was a way of me, opening up the floodgates for people to really accept all bodies, all races, all shapes and sizes. But being in the body positivity community for 8+ years now, what I've begun to notice is that there's racism that exists inside of the body positivity community, right? And it's crazy to think that there's oppressive movements that exist in oppressive movements. Like there's racism that exists in body positivity. There's racism that exists in feminism. There's racism that exists in the LGBTQ. So when you think about these things, you're like, how can somebody understand the oppression and plight of somebody being gay, lesbian, trans, but not understand the but not understand the actual plight and all the things that come with being discriminated against because of your race, right? So when I was thinking about body positivity and all of those things, the body positivity community in itself always celebrates, one type of skin tone usually. When we see a lot of these plus size models, whether they're female or male, a lot of them tend to be white. A lot of them tend to be fair skinned. A lot of them tend to have light eyes, light hair, this and that. It's very rare that you see somebody in the body positivity community represented that is dark skinned, that is a brown skin, that has brown hair, dark hair. And it just goes to further my further validate my own experience from being in the body positive movement, that there's only one kind of beauty that's celebrated, even in a movement that's supposed to celebrate everybody, right? I mean, this movement is supposed to celebrate all body types, all races, all, everything, right? Like people of the disabilities, this and that. But still, there's a level of oppression that exists in this movement that's supposed to lift people that are oppressed. And it just causes this confliction of like, racism is one of the only forms of oppression that exists in almost every movement of oppression. Like you can think about it in feminism. There's so many, feminists that really only want rights really for white women, There's a lot of, LGBTQ people that, only care about rights, but, they only care about the rights if they're like white, And I've personally chatted with a lot of people in that community, and my sister being one, and she telling me that, in the community that there's racism that exists inside of being like an open lesbian. Like she was like, you would think that we would share the same struggle because we're both oppressed, where we both go through the same challenges as being women, being openly gay, but they don't see it as the same because they're white and I'm Black. And it's just very eye-opening that there's so many oppressive movements that are supposed to uplift they're sorry, not oppressive movements. There's so many movements for oppressed people that are made to lift them, but underneath that movement, there's another level of oppression that exists. And my job as a body positivity, racial advocate, all these things is to bring this to the light. So, if it can start in the body positivity area, people will maybe notice it in feminism. And then maybe there'll be a feminist activist that will recognize, well, there's racism that exists here and we need to change it here. There's racism that exists in here and we need to change it here. So, there's racism that exists in every facet, from the healthcare, education, workplace, all of that. But it really puts another layer of like stress when the racism exists inside of a movement that's meant to, really lift oppressed people, So yeah, I mean, if you guys have any questions for me about anything, like, let me know. I mean, I can continue to go if you want.
Actually, we
Can you
have
hear me?
prepared, yeah, we can hear you. We have actually prepared a Q&A session for you because, looking at your topics and what you're going to talk about, it was very interesting. And we really want to hear more on that. So we'll have a small Q&A session with you, if that's fine.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so Umama will be hosting this Q&A session. So over to you, Umama.
Okay, cool. Okay, sweet.
Hi, Kelvin. I'm Umama, and I'll be asking you some questions followed by the audience. So without further ado, let's get into it.
Okay, sure.
So what made you want to write a book, and what were some difficulties you faced?
Say that one more time. Sorry.
What made you want to write a book, and what were some difficulties you faced?
Okay, gotcha. So what made me want to write a book is that there's a lot of etiquette books. So here is my book. It's Notoriously Dapper: How to Be a Modern Day Gentleman with Manner, Style, and Body Confidence. So there's a lot of etiquette books that are written, but they're written by older white men, right? And they give advice that is usually not usable in this day in age, right? And back then, the definition of a gentleman meant a lot of different things, right? Like you could have been back in the 30s and 40s, you could be racist and still be a gentleman. You could be a woman beater and still be a gentleman. Like you could do all these terrible, like socially things and morally terrible things and still be considered a gentleman, because the definition of a gentleman back then was completely different. And my way of writing this book was to make it clear that a modern gentleman can't be racist. He can't be anti-feminist. He can't be a misogynist. He can't be any of these things. He can't have any hate in his heart for anybody and still consider himself a gentleman. So the real reason I wrote this book was to really define what a gentleman was, right? Because I mean, I don't know if you guys have learned in your history, but like when you think about people like, from like back in like the civil rights era, like when you think of like all these like slave owners, or you think about all these people that dressed nice and they dressed dapper and they had cool hats and they looked like gentlemen. They looked like distinguished men that had like their lives put together, but they were doing things that literally destroyed this country and like shattered it and created, things that, that we still in this day in America suffer from. They created a system of oppression, a system of racism, a system that only is beneficial to the white man. You know what I'm saying? So when you think about that, it was necessary for me to write this book. It was necessary for a Black man, especially a Black millennial, to tell his story and to, really tell people what true manners is, what true style is, and what true body confidence is. So yeah, that's why I wrote it. Now, some of the challenges, now granted, this is my first book. I've never written a book ever. So, and at the time I was teaching art in middle school. So I was like, had a lot on my plate. I was teaching, I was, I'm a father, I was coaching too. So I had a lot of other things that I had to actually do. So the difficult thing was trying to find the actual time to write it. And when I found the time, it was like the difficulty of trying to like maximize that amount of time. Like if I only had 2 hours, how can I maximize this 2 hours to make sure I get at least a chapter done, right? So that was like the most difficult thing, was the amount of time, because I only had like 11 months to like write it, and I wrote it in 9 months. So yeah, it was rough, but I did it, you know what I'm saying? So
your book is certainly one of a kind. It's like it has its different idea, like it's just different, and it's some really great inspiration for the young authors out there to like get out of the norm and just start up something new. And your book certainly delivers a powerful message, especially for the men out there. Now,
yes.
moving forward to the next question. When you started your blog, did you face any trolls, and were there instances where you doubted yourself amidst the trolling? And if you did face trolling for what you did, how did you overcome it?
Yes, I faced a lot of trolling. So when I started my blog in 2000, it was like late 2012, early 2013, I didn't realize, so I created the blog to really, not only create confidence for myself, but to help other men, right? So at the time, I didn't really know the term body positive. It wasn't like a term. I was just like producing like a feel good blog is what I called it, right? Like just like a confidence blog, people to just feel confident. And then when the term body positivity really became like, I guess like, not like a phase, but like a like word of language that was like really viral And around 2015, you know, people started calling my blog like a body positive menswear blog. And I was like, okay, it is a body positive menswear blog. I didn't realize that's what I was doing, but I mean, it just so happened it played out in that way. But a lot of trolls, you know, I would get like a lot of direct messages. A lot of people would email me and try to be like, well, if you're so, you know, if you're so insecure about your body, like, why don't you take this hydroxy cut, or like take this diet pill, or like, why don't you try this diet or try this, or like, if you like, and I would have guys like send me workout regimens, and I'll be like, dude, I'm not trying to ask for workout advice. Like, I know how to stay in shape. I know how to work out. I know how to take care of my body. I just want people to understand that it's okay for you to look different, and it's okay for you to be different, and you can still feel confident in that without trying to buy into whatever the media and social media like people think is beauty. And a lot of the times I would get upset about it. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like, I'm not gonna sit here and lie and say like I was like this strong man that was like, it didn't faze me, da da da. It fazed me a lot. It would like really hurt my feelings. Like, a lot of the times when people would call me names, you know, they would call me racial slurs. People would say all different kind of things. And it really dawned on me in about 2016 how lonely I felt in this movement. And that's what really gave me the light to understand that although I'm this body positive influencer and model and author and person that's doing this stuff, I'm still Black, and it's lonely because I'm the only Black male in this space. And people are like still, you know, trolling me, and people are still saying obscene things to me. And there's of course been times where I thought to myself, well, if I was white, would this have happened? If I was white, would I have been trolled so much? If I was white, would I have gotten so much flack for doing this? Do you know? So a lot of that plays in my head as well, because I'm like, you know, if I was a different color, you know, maybe, you know, I would have been a little bit more accepted whenever I first started, right? But dealing with all those trials and tribulations, you know, it kind of built an armor inside of me to where now in like 2021, I'm like really unfazed by anything anybody says to me really on the internet. Cause I'm like, you don't know me, like you don't affect my life, like you have no control over me, my family, my kids. Like, so I just like now it doesn't faze me. But like it took a good like 7 to 8 years to get to that point. And I want to tell people that it's okay to be upset about the things people say to you on social media. It's okay to cry about it. It's okay, like, it's okay to vent about it. It's okay to like feel sadness about it. You know, it makes you human, you know, because words hurt. People like to say this stupid thing like sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt. No, words hurt, and they hurt a lot. And words do a lot more damage than sticks and stones do, because you can always physically heal, but healing those emotional wounds takes a lot of time, you know? So
that was like a really extremely brave of you. You know, there are many young people or just people out there who are bullied and they doubt themselves a lot. So that is like one brave way to approach the situation. Moving on, modeling is something that many people love to do but often get discouraged because of their own certain features. Many have this misconception that to model you need to be fit and tall, and these standards have led to a lot of problems that people face, such as eating disorder, solely because of the fact that they want to achieve their dream of being featured on a high-end magazine. What are your opinions on these standards set by modeling agencies, and how do you aim to use your voice to eradicate these toxic standards so that there is inclusivity all around the world, regardless of size, shape, and color?
of course. So I hate modeling standards. I hate the requirements for them, always have, because to me, a model is somebody that's representing a company or brand, but the brand and company wants everybody to shop there. So in my mind, even as like a teenager, I would be like, if you want everybody to shop at your store, brown, black, like Muslim, Christian, whatever, gay, straight, if you want everybody to shop at your store and buy product from you, why aren't you representing every person that can potentially shop at your store, right? So me being like in like high school, acknowledging that this existed in the fashion industry at like an early stage, you know, I always wanted to be a model ever since I was about 10 years old. I was shopping in the Husky section, which if y'all don't know, the Husky section was a section back in the day, like in the early 90s, that was made for fat boys, that were boys that were like big, like they couldn't fit into kids' clothes, but they couldn't fit into adult clothes. So they had like this awkward medium stage called Husky, and it was the most terrifying spot of like any store, because you would go in there and you would see yourself walking towards the Husky section. You would just feel this sense of just insecurity because all the clothes looked different. They had different colors. Nothing ever fit right. It was just right? So I remember shopping for some new jeans, and I remember seeing this poster of a Ralph Lauren polo model named Tyson Beckford. Now I don't know if you guys are familiar with him, but he was like one of the first dark-skinned models for Ralph Lauren. And he was like this tall, like very big, like masculine, dark-skinned man that reminded me of like my uncles, my dad, reminded me of people that I like knew like in my family. And I remember looking at this picture being like, oh my God, like he's a model. Like maybe I can be a model too, because we have like the same skin tone, right? And then, you know, as years went on and stuff, you know, I obviously, you know, never really thought I would actually be an actual model. And when I started my blog and stuff, you know, I never thought then that it would ever lead to modeling. So when I was doing my like blog, and when I got, you know, and on my blog, I knew that the whole point of my actual blog was to create a representation, was to create an opposite representation, was to create an alternate representation of what people see inside of like magazines and stuff. So like you go to like a magazine, you see like slim fit, fair skinned guys, but then you go to my blog and you see this dark skinned, short, chubby dude wearing the same stuff, and he looks just as cool. So it was like an alternate version of that. And I didn't realize what I was creating was a portfolio for companies to look at and say, wait, this dude doesn't really fit the body type of most models, but he looks good in the clothing. Maybe we should, you know, try to get this to work. So when I actually like got my first modeling job ever, it was in 2015. And I remember being so nervous because I was like, you know, I'm not, you know, I wasn't like a signed model yet, you know, I wasn't like a contracted model. I was just doing like a modeling job. And I just remember feeling so just feeling so inferior and so scared and sheepish because there were all these quote unquote beautiful people around me, right? That were tall and skinny and had abs and all these muscles. And I'm just sitting there, I have stretch marks, I'm dark skin, I'm bald, I have gray hairs in my beard. I'm like, you know, I'm like feeling so insecure. And then, you know, I do the photo shoot, and one of the photo producers comes up to me, and tells me, he's like, you have one of the most like infectious and beautiful smiles I've ever seen from anybody. And I was like, excuse me? And he was like your smile on camera is like, it makes the picture just scream like happiness. And that's kind of like what I like fed off on, right? Like, yeah, okay, no, I'm not the tallest. No, I'm not like, you know, this, I'm not that. But what I do have to offer is happiness. What I do have to offer is like authenticity. What I do have to offer is me, is Kelvin, and there's only one of me, right? So that's kind of what like helped me, you know, really be more secure in like the modeling field, was to know that like there's nobody else like me. And that's why, you know, companies like working with me, because they just can't duplicate me. No matter how hard they try, they can never get another like infectious smile like I have on like this camera, you know? And I hate to say this, but like there's a lot of like fair-skinned dudes with abs that you could just find on the street, you know? There's a lot of them that you could just plug in and plug out, but you can't plug and plug out Kelvin, you know? So I think like that's the most interesting thing that people have to understand that about modeling now. It's about what you have to offer and what makes you stand out the actual most. Because it's not necessarily to me anymore about looks, because I feel like a lot of companies like Gap, American Eagle, Target, all these companies are looking for personalities that shine through like this camera, and that project this feeling of like happiness and like, you know, of just joy and all these things, like every positive emotion, right? So the biggest thing that I would tell people that want to model is that you have to coin something that only you can do and nobody else can duplicate. Whether it be a smile, whether it be the way your eyes look, whether it be anything, right? Like you have to coin something.
How do you aim to use your voice to eradicate these toxic standards?
I use my voice to like really like talk about anything as far as toxic masculinity. You know, toxic masculinity, I feel like is a very underrated conversation, because toxic masculinity creates monsters. It creates, you know, leaders, presidents, politicians that, you know, incite violence, that incite hate, that incite things inside of people that necessarily wasn't there. And it like activates, you know, things that can be very, very negative. So one of my biggest things that I try to talk about is not only racism and body positivity, but toxic masculinity. Because I feel like a lot of men don't want to talk about mental health, right? Like they don't want to call their guys up, and they don't want to vent about how they feel mentally ill and how they feel about this and that. A lot of men just keep that all up inside of them. And I feel like there's a reason why, you know, 100% of like mass shootings are men. I mean, you can't think of a time where a woman has ever walked into a store and, you know, opened fire and done all of these things, right? And it goes back to like this form of like toxic masculinity. Like these men don't have an outlet to speak about their mental health, their mental issues. They take it out on other people, and it like incites acts of violence, right? So, yeah.
Hey, this Parody. Hey, Mr. Dave.
Oh, hey. How are you doing?
I'm doing good.
Good. I used to teach her. She was one of my students whenever I was a middle school art teacher.
Hey,
Oh,
Mr.
hey.
Davis.
Hey. How
How
are
are
you?
you?
Good.
Good. I have a question. So what made
Yeah.
you start doing modeling? Because I remember you as our art teacher.
Yes. Yeah. So
what made you do modeling?
So what made me want to do it was because I wanted to have some kind of representation for other people. Because I remember growing up, I never saw people that looked like me inside of like fashion ads or anything. So what I wanted was to be that face of hope and representation for other Black kids, right? So like whenever a kid that is like 10 years old, that's dark skinned and chubby, he can walk into a Target and look at me and feel confident and be like, oh, well, if he can be a model, I can be a model because he kind of looks like me, mom, you know? So that was like the whole reason why I wanted to do it, because it just creates a sense of hope and a sense of representation for people of color, especially like little boys.
Okay, so also, what made you start doing like body empowerment?
So what made me start doing body empowerment was in about 2013. I went shopping for some new some new clothes, and I was body shamed by a sales associate. She told me that I was too fat to shop there, and it was my first time as a guy being like publicly body shamed. You know, like I've dealt with racism, I've dealt with a lot of other things, but having somebody tell me that I was too fat to shop at a store was very disheartening, very like detrimental to like my actual confidence. So I wanted to make people feel confident in every facet, like no matter how big and small they actually were, if they were tall, short, I wanted them to feel confident about their body. Yeah. I can't hear you. Oh, I can't hear you. Did you ask us something?
Hello?
Yeah, hey.
Oh, I was saying later I might need you to inbox me because I was actually looking into modeling and I might need your help.
Okay, yeah, of course, yeah. I would love that.
Okay.
I got you, yeah. Okay.
Bye.
All right, see ya. Bye.
Honestly, Kelvin, it was so much fun, hearing you, speak on all of these different matters. And I've literally learned so much from this conversation. I was just sitting and listening because, this conversation was so engaging. And, the questions that were coming up that Umama was asking, that a couple of your students also asked, I mean, I really learned a lot. And, I've learned a lot about especially these modeling agencies because as a person, even I really was very fascinated, with modeling. And, oftentimes my family members would tell me, no, come on, this is not your cup of tea. You'll never, it's not something that will guarantee you success. And, I've always wanted to, tell them that no, but if I persevere and if I do that, regardless of, the disadvantage, I mean, not the disadvantages, regardless of my features, I think I will still be able to pull through because, I am unique in my own way and each person is
exactly.
unique. I was not born with a white skin, neither was I born being tall and, having a light colored hair. And, I just want to, I was really inspired by what you said. And really, I hope that has also inspired others because I just want to push through. I just want to break, the standards that people have, that society has said that, to be a great singer, you have to be white. That's when you're going to come up. That's when people are going to recognize you. To be an actress, you have to be white. You have to have light colored
exactly.
And, whenever I see, a person of color on a campaign, or if I see an Indian person, because I am Indian, and, if I see an Indian person, in a Hollywood movie or, on a campaign, it brings me so much of joy because that gives me hope that, wow, if my idol, I mean, if an Indian person could do that, I can do that too. And I don't have to, fear anything. Whatever you just said, I was able to relate to it a lot because, I feel people of color really are affected by this, even when I used to go to certain agencies for, acting for advertisements, I used to always get rejected. Like they would call me to the final stage and they would be like, wow, your acting was really, really good. And then a couple of weeks later, I would, follow up and say, so have I been selected or not? But they were like, but I wouldn't get a reply for that. And that was really sad because, they would always take children or models that were fair skinned, and that really made me feel sad because I would always think to myself, so if I go to this particular modeling audition, I think I'm supposed to put a lot of foundation on my face because I don't want them to think that I don't want them to reject me. But then after listening to this conversation, I've realized that there's no need to do that anymore because they're not going to get someone like me, and that really has
exactly.
So
yeah. And whether they want to acknowledge it or not, it's their loss because they can't find another year. You know what I mean? So it's like whenever, and I've met a lot of casting agencies and a lot of people that have had regret from like not casting somebody that would have done a better job because just because there's a lot of models that I've modeled with that I know got the job just because they're white and they just so happen to be somewhat what good looking, but they possess no talent. They possess no like authenticity. They possess nothing that can like nothing that can't be duplicated, right? It's like it's almost just like another. I mean, I hate to say this, but just like another white sheet of paper. You know what I mean? Just like another. Just grab another. Just grab another. Just grab another. You know? It's like the same thing over and over again. You know?
Exactly. I can totally relate because I've also seen that, there was some auditions, and when I saw the advertisements of who they picked, and my parents would sit beside me and say, "Oh, you auditioned for this. You were so much better. I thought you would get it." And I was like, yeah, but that's life. This is how it's
It
going
is.
to be. But it's fine. I'm still gonna pull through, and I'm going to push the barriers and to ensure that my dream gets fulfilled. I mean, I am born with I'm born with the features, and I cannot really change that. And God has gifted me with beautiful features, and I need to be grateful for that. And it doesn't matter whether people select me because I am not white, and that's totally fine because I'm going to celebrate myself the way I am right now. That's the best way of self-love, and to show people that you love yourself. You don't need to meet those Eurocentric standards to sort of come out there. I feel you can do so with the talent that you have. And I would like to hand over the hosting to Karsten right now. So Karsten, you may take lead.
Okay, hi, Mr. Kelvin. Everything that you just said was wonderful. It was great, and I relate to it on a very personal level, both being dark skinned. I was never fat or had weight, so I didn't experience all of it. But what you said about skin tone and not feeling acceptable, I definitely could relate to you there, and it's something that I still see going on today. But I'm thankful that somebody else, another dark skinned man, was able to like relate to it on a very personal level. So I'm really short of words to like thank you for your involvement and your willingness to participate in this event. There was never a dull moment with anything you said, and you really empowered not just me, but each person in this virtual event with your strong words. After this event, I can happily look at myself in the mirror and feel confident in all that I am, and this is just true confidence in me. I aspire to care more about myself and carry the words that you said with me everywhere. All that being said, please accept my sincere gratitude towards you because without your support, this event would not have been able to acquire this much excellence. So once again, thank you for taking part in our event, and I wish you nothing but success for all your future endeavors.
Thank you. Thank you so much. That was beautifully said. I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.